Cyberpunk Jordan.
Hello, my gummy bears! My name is Jordan, also known as CJ, and welcome back to Jordan's Soapbox, the show where I talk about anything that I want to talk about. Alright, time to address the elephant in the room. So, if you haven't noticed, the channel's been kind of, exploding because of one particular video involving a green hedgehog. Yeah. It's kind of clear to me that everyone wants to see me cover more Sonic-related media as a result. Based on, that video doing so well, that. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I am more than happy to oblige, as I've been a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog in comics, and have over 200 issues in my collection from Archie to IDW. That includes everything from normal issues, miniseries, super specials, and whatever the heck Sonic Live was. Oh yes, we're gonna cover this on this show one day. But not today. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I have a lot of stuff I can talk about until probably the end of time. So the question then becomes, where do I start? Well, I have an issue of Sonic that, while battered from the passage of time, and also my younger sibling destroying it when it came out because he pulled it apart by accident, anyway, holds one of the best moments for Dr. Eggman. The time he went completely insane. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dr. Eggman is already a mad scientist hell-bent on world domination with various inventions and schemes. How could he not already be insane? Sonic 200, the culmination of several storylines leading to the final, quotation marks on that, because definitely was not the final, battle between Sonic and Dr. Eggman asked this question. What would it be like mentally for someone like a mad scientist losing constantly? Because Dr. Eggman is one of those villains who always loses, such as Bowser from Super Mario Bros. Or Dr. Wily from Mega Man. It's the kind of typical trope reoccurring video game villains, having temporary success with a scheme and the hero has to stop it, the hero succeeds, and undoes said success. Rinse, rather, repeat. Which makes sense considering the medium of video games and comics, which are more often than not heavily serialized. But when you think about it, all that failure cannot be healthy. That's no exception with Archie Sonic comics. Despite all the success Dr. Eggman has had up until Sonic 200, he's always been thwarted or set back in some way. Many of those stories are referenced in that issue as the two duke it out for the climactic battle that had been built up issues beforehand. And when you read Sonic 200, everything seems normal at first. But then as Sonic gloats about his constant victories over Dr. Eggman, he starts to become more deranged, barely able to make coherent sentences as he spins wildly out of control in his egg tarantula machine. Sonic is oblivious to it, but this is our first clue as the reader that this is not a normal battle, that something is wrong here. Dr. Eggman's actions here are more demonstrative of a deranged lunatic than a mad scientist. As the battle continues, Sonic seemingly has Dr. Eggman defeated, but the egg tarantula unleashes a surprise barrage of lasers, with Dr. Eggman at this point not even able to make coherent sentences, with words like "stay back" and "die" being uttered. It is a shocking depiction of the character that his mind is becoming more and more unstable. But we can only watch as an oblivious Sonic lands the final blows. The final sane words screamed by the Doctor is his usual "I hate that hedgehog." But it feels different, with the pauses of each word per panel and the final close-up of the Mad Doctor, saliva pouring out of his mouth as he screams the final word. If the words coming out of his mouth weren't a stark departure enough, then this visual depiction is. It is creepy, and I'm more than willing to bet people got nightmares from this sort of stuff. But, don't worry, the nightmare fuel's only beginning. Sonic later comes over to Dr. Eggman, who's twitching on the floor, doing his usual victory lap. But Eggman, who has been mumbling on the floor, does something completely unexpected to both the reader and someone who knows the character well. he starts to scream. The startling moment is accentuated by the reveal of his eyes, which are depicted as black with blood-red pupils. He yells incoherently, rips off most of his mustache, tries to swing a punch at Sonic before falling to the floor in an insane fit. It's a terrifying and unorthodox depiction of a longtime character who, well, has just been defeated way too many times, and whose failures finally broke him. I'll stop talking here because it goes into other story arcs and other things that I want to talk about another time. But I will say that this version of the character would stick around for most of the Iron Dominion arc, before becoming even more ruthless and scary once his sanity was restored. But why talk about this issue? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the best issue of the comic, nor is it the most interesting one in terms of story. But rather, I wanted to talk about it because it empathized one thing that this comic did. It wasn't afraid to take risks and be weird. Despite being an officially licensed book from Archie Comics and Sega, there was some wild characters, stories, and more, with Sonic 200 just being one example of this. I doubt that Sega would have ever allowed Dr. Eggman to act like this in a Sonic the Hedgehog video game, even one that writer of this issue, Ian Flynn, writes. It wasn't afraid to break the mold, but it still was entertaining, and it would stick with the minds of anyone who read it as being an eccentric library of Sonic-related titles. It certainly did for me when I was young, and reading this issue, which was one of the first I actually bought, made me realize this comic would have a different direction than the games, for better or worse. It's a shame because while IDW Sonic is more than a worthy successor, this comic no longer exists or is easily accessible. That means that people will miss out on moments like these, moments that have bold creativity and risk, and that just sucks. Eggman's descent into insanity is only a microcosm of this comic's rich history. Because, believe me, if you thought this was weird, you haven't seen anything yet. Anyway, that's all for this episode of Jordan's Soapbox. My name is Jordan, and I think I need to lay off the blue hedgehog for a little while. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Jordan's Soapbox. If you liked the video, consider subscribing to the channel with that little icon. Come on, you know you want to. I also have a Patreon and Ko-Fi where you can give your hard-earned money to support what I do, for some reason. Links to that and other social media in the description below. Bye!